Welcome back to the Energy Forum, a podcast from the Center for Energy Studies at Rice University's Baker Institute for Public Policy. I'm Ken Medlock, Senior Director of the Center for Energy Studies. The Center for Energy Studies is deeply engaged with energy education at Rice University, having funded 55 PhD students and 8 postdocs over the last 15 years, with fellows taking teaching and leadership roles in different energy-focused master's programs on campus. This has forged deep connections through education, both domestically and internationally across the energy landscape. Today, we're taking a close look at the evolving career landscape in the energy sector and what it means for the next generation of talent. As the industry undergoes rapid transformation, new types of opportunities are emerging for students across a wide range of disciplines. To help us unpack these trends, we are joined today by Michael Maher, Chief of Research Operations at the Center for Energy Studies, and Nicole Van Den Heuvel, Associate Dean of Students and Executive Director of Rice University's Center for Career Development. Together, they'll explore where students are finding opportunities in the energy sector today, how the industry is recruiting, and how programs at Rice are preparing students for long-term success. Michael, take it away.
Thank you, Ken, and thank you, Nicole, for coming to speak to us today.
Thanks, Michael. Good to be here.
You and I have crossed paths and worked together for a dozen years or so here at Rice. We've seen a lot of changes both in student interests, the energy industry, what companies are looking for, and I think that's a very interesting transition to us talking today. What's the future of jobs in the energy sector, and what are students looking for? So in energy, when I came on board, it was traditional oil and gas. In the last 12 or so years, we've added in renewable solar, wind is important. We're moving towards electric storage batteries. We have EVs. U.S. is now a big exporter of oil, but a big exporter of LNG. Right. Everyone understands the global implications of energy. We have a lot of people interested in environmental issues related to energy. So it's a broader spectrum of people's interest in energy. Right. If you kind of talk about, what about students? What are they interested in these days? How might that have changed?
Well, I think students are still very interested in energy. Look where we are, energy capital of the world, right? So we do have a lot of students who are coming to Rice because of where we are located, not just undergrads, but of course masters and PhD students. And the numerous opportunities for students to get involved and experience the energy industry is endless for our students. Okay, for us, the challenge is to help our students understand really what's out there, and also that so many majors really apply to areas of interest in the energy world. Really, almost every major, Michael, we have students who go into an energy-related field. And we're not just talking traditional oil and gas. We're talking renewables. We're talking the ancillary other companies, the oil and gas, the service companies, engineering, drilling, but also investment banking, consulting. All those industries play into that.
And that's true. You can get people in traditional chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, but now you get people even in the liberal arts, because you need to be able to communicate what you're doing as a company, and that's a broad way. There's also government opportunities working with NGOs that are involved in energy and environment. There are and social sciences in that too. There are just so many avenues, and I think the students are interested. What about the companies?
The companies are really interested. I think they would love to hire as many Rice students as they can. And you say, well, why isn't that happening? It's happening, but I think they also need to do a little bit of a better job. The traditional oil and gas companies need to do a better job of kind of showing the value proposition of working for some of these companies. That's number one. And then also we have a role to help educate the students on really what is out there. because there's not a lot of name recognition when you're a freshman, sophomore, even when you get to the PhD level. So we have a lot of educating to do on our end as well.
So, you go back 12 years, recruiting was done live on campus.
Right.
Now, lots of companies don't go on campus. And a lot of the renewable energy companies aren't as large. They don't do on campus. How do you help students and companies connect when it's not in person?
Yes, great question. One silver lining from COVID was the fact that recruiting changed for everybody, for students, and actually, obviously, for companies too. So companies now realize, guess what? I don't have to come on campus and physically recruit, physically go to the Career Expo. The Career Expo, as you know, is still a strong attractor, recruitment tool for companies. But to give you an example, our company that recruits and hires our most students does not come to campus in any way, shape, or form. And they are our number one company. Why? Because there's so many different ways to get and to attract students. Virtual interviewing, and companies are coming and doing things differently too. Coffee chats, we're doing more specialized events for them so we can target those events more for students. And then you've got the virtual interviewing. Those whole platforms really help companies manage their resources and their time.
So that's interesting. How do you help students? It's somewhat easy. You're used to doing face-to-face. What type of skills do you teach them to do these Zoom interviews and remote?
Well, even before we start there, let me just say that you still have to conquer the basics. And what are those basics? Those basics are you still have to have a very strong resume. You have to have a good cover letter if the employer is asking for a cover letter. And of course, number 3 for me, I preach, you got to have a good LinkedIn profile, okay? Because recruiters are searching on LinkedIn with keywords, and keywords are the most important thing for these students. But what we are trying to help the student is that hasn't changed, is give them the confidence to, when they show up, how do they interview in a confident kind of a manner? And that is something that I think has to be done with practice over and over again. That's number 1. Number 2, what we really are trying to teach students is the comfort. It's a hard word. Comfort with networking don't go hand in hand, but we're trying to help students feel more at ease with the whole idea of networking. And you know how it is, Michael. Students want to be able to have their resume, submit their resume online. Hopefully the company will look at their resume and they'll say, this great candidate, come interview, boom, you got the job, okay? Does that happen? Yes, but mostly it's not happening that way. Employers are really requiring students to do a lot of networking. We talked about investment banking. There's a lot of investment banking or energy related in Houston, right? If you want to get into investment banking, you want to get the summer internship, you are being recruited 18 months in advance to get that summer internship. So this poor little sophomore has to have, the networking down, the interview skills, the resume, all those kinds of things. So we are asking students sooner to be more prepared.
So when I was a student, and this would apply to engineering students and others back in those days, your grade point average and your major, but really your grade point average was critical. What are companies looking for today when they're interested in bringing on a student?
Yeah, I love that question because this is also what we tell parents, and parents they're always taking pictures of the slide because we poll employers every year and we ask them on a scale of 1 to 5, tell us what is the most important skill you're looking for. And GPA falls 7th on the list. So what's at the top of the list? Communication, teamwork, problem solving, analytical, being able to think multifunctionally, all those different kinds of skills those are what employers are looking for. They want examples. Can you articulate that for me? Yes, the GPA is important, but companies are also looking for, did you not just go to class? Did you get involved on campus? Did you get involved in your college system? What kind of clubs are you involved in? What are you doing? What kind of internships did you have? Okay, having an internship is really, really key.
So how does a student stand out to a recruiter in the energy sector?
Okay, love that question too. How does a student articulate what are you good at? What are you interested in? And why are you interested in this company? Okay, everybody wants to know, why me, right? Why are you interested in working for me? Can you articulate that? And you would be surprised. Actually, you wouldn't be surprised because you do help our students out every year at the Career Expo with their pitch. But how hard it is for students and even adults to articulate in 30 seconds, here's what I'm good at, here's what I'm interested in, and here's why I'm interested in your company. So that's really important for students.
So one thing that the internet does, it's easy to send out a blitz of resumes to 100 jobs. Right. That may not necessarily meet the job description, has nothing about the company. How do you stand out in that world where it's easy to say, here's 90 I went through just briefly I don't want to look at. So
okay, the way you stand out, and I think this is also harder for students to absorb, the way you stand out is you back it up with networking. And a student might say, well, I don't know anybody. Well, that's why you come to the Center for Career Development. That's why you come to us, and we can help you connect with the vast network of alumni who chances are work at that company. So we can help. We refer students to Michael Maher because Michael Maher is so connected, and you're always so kind to give students so much advice and help and resume input. So yes, we've got advocates and ambassadors across campus like you that we really appreciate your help and your support.
So again, not as many companies are coming to campus. How do students find out where jobs are with energy companies? And broader than just the names that are in your neighborhood or, in your city. Like, what's available for them?
Well, we also have a very strong recruiting platform. Any good school does. Our platform is called 1220. It's the one-stop shop for students and employers. It's where everything gets posted. So the first thing we tell students is, go to 1220. You're already in it. Students are already in it, so they just have to upload their profile. But that's where they will first see what are the jobs, what internships are out there. Because companies that are posting on our platform are saying, I want to hire a Rice student. So that's number one. Number two, look at where we're sitting at the Baker Institute. I mean, we are telling students, go take advantage of all the phenomenal events, talks, discussions that happen here. Obviously, you can't go to every one of them, but you have a rich portfolio of so many opportunities for students to engage with. Those are things students have to do to stand out.
So one of our events last year, I turned to this student next to me, expecting him, maybe he was a graduate student or a senior or whatever. He said, no, I'm a freshman. I'm just coming here to learn more. I'm very interested in energy and other things. We started chatting. He sent me a resume. I invited him to some special programs we had. As a freshman, he has a summer internship at the Baker Institute. So
is that thanks to Michael Maher?
That's networking. I told him for the very first time I met him, you're getting an A in networking because you're talking to somebody at an event, and it leads to something. I didn't get him the internship, but I hope, those are the doors. Those are the things that students really need to get good at.
You also gave him the confidence and kind of the venue and the avenue to say, look, you can do it. You're here. Good for you. Look, you've already networked with me. You showed him the way.
So part of that, too, is you mentioned what are the 7 things companies are looking for. Those are the 7 things companies are also looking for for someone to hire in with experience, or even to get promoted within the company. You got to keep your analytic skills up. You got to show you can teamwork. You got to show that some of your leadership skills. You have to be ready to explain what you provide to the organization, how you would fit into that, all those skills. And energy companies, it's common now to move between energy companies. So that is how students often are moving ahead, is they're moving from company to company. And so those skills that you learn to get your first job are often the same ones you need for your second job.
Yes, very much so. And we know it's so hard to keep up with this very fast-paced world of AI, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, in some ways you could, going back to how do you have a good resume and a good cover letter, in some ways there's almost no excuse, because you can rely on AI. So when I see a cover letter or resume that is not tailored to the job, I am not even going to pay any attention, because you have to think, and this is what we tell candidates, maybe this is not the right message, but it's the true message. When people are looking at resumes and for a job, they're looking at reasons to say no. They're not looking at reasons to say yes, because you typically you're only hiring one person. You're not hiring 10 or 20. So you have to you got to check the boxes that you have control over. And as an applicant, you have control over a lot. You have a control over your resume, your content, what you're going to say, how you present yourself, all those kinds of things. You don't have control over who's going to interview you, the market, the trends, that kind of thing.
So Rice and other universities also recognize that at some time after graduation, you sometimes want to go back and get additional skills. Yes. Traditionally, MBAs, everyone knows what an MBA is, but Rice and other universities have started to add other professional master's programs. For example, in engineering, you can get a professional master's in chemical engineering, which feeds often into an energy job. But we also have a master's of energy engineering management, which can get you into we have a master's of engineering and energy transition. We have a master's of energy economics program, which really dives deep into analytics, looking at markets and policy and geopolitics. It sets people up to move from maybe an engineering-based job into a planning job or a strategy job or in a completely different direction. So how are those students somewhat different than undergraduates, and how do you help them find jobs?
They're different in that they're getting a specialization. And that's a real value add. But consulting firms that have energy arms are really very keen, especially some of the top consulting firms are really keen on hiring, for example, PhD students. There's so much work to be done on not just on engineering, but policy analysis, communication, analytical, all those different research projects, all those different things where it requires a higher level of degree and competence and technical expertise. How do you take what you've learned and apply it in a different way? I mean, how are you applying your thought process, your research skills, your analytical skills, your communication skills? You need that in a PhD program. Well, can you translate that into a work company environment? The answer is yes. And if you know how to translate complex issues and theories into something that is understandable to the layman, wow, what a gift that you have too. And for a PhD student that's thinking, I really don't want to go into academia for chemical engineering, how can I do it? Well, let's find other alumni who have done this kind of career path. And those are areas that also we can help, where we can also help PhD candidates to see, look, some of your counterparts have done this in different areas. Let's help you connect again and network.
So the Baker Institute Center for Energy Studies has lots of energy programs that are open to students. They're not cost. Actually, they're open to everybody without cost. that is a great way to network. And I would say for a professional master's student, and even MBAs, coming to our events and talking to people. Right. One of the things you may learn about someone else's career that sounds interesting, but the other thing, you're practicing talking about your interests, your experience, and you start getting comfortable talking about yourself in a way that's, a professional way. And that's hard for students to do, but that's what you got to be able to do. If you can't sell yourself,
right?
You
as we tell students, if you can't articulate what you're interested in and what you're good at, how do you expect the company or the person on the other end to understand what it is you're good at and what it is you want? So yes, but that's a lifelong skill too, don't you know? Yeah.
So the other thing, and this is common at lots of universities, Rice has made a special effort to increase international students in their undergraduate. A lot of the professional master's programs are heavily international because students want an experience at a U.S. university. They know they're upping their skill level. How do you help international students find jobs if they want to stay in the United States?
I mean, that is a kind of an ongoing challenge, okay? And what we cannot control is the market. We cannot tell or request or ask a company, please, will you sponsor this candidate? Because we have no control of that. So what we do have control is to help these students identify what are the companies that are hiring or have hired international students in the past. It takes a little bit more work. A lot of these international students know sometimes they're going to have to work a little bit harder and get into the game quicker, even before they get on campus. So that is an area that is ongoing and an area that international students have to really be cognizant of.
But what's interesting is where students are finding acceptance that they're international students often are business consulting, yes, engineering consulting, energy analytics, where a lot of these companies they have international offices, they're willing to train you, they're willing to work with, even if some of the major corporations steer away from it. The other thing I tell international students, if there's a major oil company that's at the career fair and you know they're not going to hire an international student, talk to them about, how do I get engaged with the arm of your company in Argentina where I'm from? How do I connect? Help me connect in that way. Because all of these multinational companies have subsidiaries all around the world that do hire. I was at a session with a company where it was in the commodity trading and they had all the analytics people. Three of them were all from a different country. They all got hired into this company in another organization. Some Canada, Europe, Korea. And so that's another way to think about it, is that even if you can't get a job in the U.S. to begin with, you can join a company that's international that may open up opportunities to come to the U.S.
Right, and don't you know, really what you're talking about, Michael, are the same things we've been talking about, which is such a great point, which is it's just not enough, and it never has been and never will be enough just to say, I'm going to apply and I'm going to have a great resume, and you might have a fantastic resume. But your point that you always say so eloquently is you've got to go above and beyond. You have to network, ask, make connections, figure out who you need to talk to, and then also be methodical about it. And also don't be scared of somebody either not responding or somebody saying no.
The Center for Energy Studies supports 3 or 4 PhDs in economics that are doing a dissertation related to energy. One of our students just graduated and got a job in an analytics portion of a commodity trading group. That wasn't what his dissertation was. That wasn't necessarily what he studied, but he could translate how his skills would work into trying to analyze what's going on in the market on a regular, on a quick basis, why his skills were important. And that's what you really have to do, is not necessarily say, I got to do something exactly like my dissertation was on. How do I sell my skills?
Well, what a gift. And has that person gone back and thought and really gone over the process and thought, here's how I got there. Here were my success measures, and I did this and this and this, and showed that I could successfully transition into this other field that may not have been completely related.
Yes, I mean, those are the things that PhD students need to think about. Yeah. There are quite a few students on campus that have not gone what you would think of in Houston for a lot of people, oil and gas. Right. And one of the things that we try to sell students, and one of the reasons why they come here, is Texas is engaged in all sorts of energy. Right. We are the leading wind producer in the country, second leading solar producer. We have LNG projects, we have refining, we have chemical, we have clean hydrogen, we have carbon capture and storage, we have EV companies, we have battery storage manufacturers in Texas. So there are lots of things that we have that students, their skills either as an undergraduate or a master's or a PhD is something that they can do. And I'm going to mention one other student who is an undergraduate planning to go into medicine. Senior year, mid through the fall, decided she didn't want to go to medicine. Yeah. Hadn't thought about anything else. She ended up going into business strategy at a consulting company. She went back and got an MBA 5 years later, and now she's in the renewable energy sector. Had nothing to do with her undergraduate degree, which was more along biology and other things. Not necessarily what she was doing in business consulting, but all of those skills, and she upgraded with an MBA, allowed her now to move into energy. And I think that's a lot of things that you're going to see with people that don't get into energy right away. They see that, boy, there's a lot of interesting things to do in energy. But those are the things that you can be transformed as you go through your career. Do not think I have to stop learning. I can make career change. That's where a lot of these professional master's programs, MBAs traditionally, people, and Rice and other universities, that's an important part. Undergraduate is important too, but we really offer at Rice, a broad range of upgrading skills beyond undergraduate also. And energy companies are interested in that.
Yes, and also to your point, we've got the traditional oil and gas, energy, but there's so many tranches, right? There's the sustainability, wind, solar, like you said, but there's also technology in the energy industry. There are a lot of startups, and look at where we are in Houston with the ION. So if a student is interested in being an entrepreneur, and in that area, that space, there's so much happening there as well. And the thing is that there are so many opportunities on campus for students to get beyond their major and to explore. My last word of advice for any student is, regardless of, even if they've figured out this is exactly what I want to do, is to stay very open-minded, flexible, and agile, and really open to learning new skills, because that's really also what companies are looking for.
And that's a really good one, because what a lot of students think is, I'm going to map out my career. Right. When you talk to people who've had long careers, the ins and outs, the way it moves around, you cannot know today exactly how you're going to go, but you do need to know, how can I continue to progress in different ways? What skills do I need? I need to keep learning. And that's really important in the energy field, because things change so fast.
Stay relevant. Stay relevant and stay interested and engaged and stay networked.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Thank you for tuning in to the Energy Forum. Subscribe and follow our podcast and the Center for Energy Studies for more expert insights on global energy trends. This episode was produced by Maher Hijazi. AV production by Andrew Maria. Until next time, I'm Ken Medlock.